I miss up one damn event, and now this is going to be a reminder every single time. See?
We'll be in Georgia next week.
Thank
Augusta, specifically.
Welcome into another edition of Putting for Dough. Ben Rasa, I'm Eytan, Shander. Chris is producing. The three of us getting you ready for the Valero Open and then the Masters. We're right around the corner, Ben Rasa. We have one more tournament to get through, and while people on the surface may just hold their nose at this event, from what we're doing from a betting standpoint, there's actually some pretty cool opportunities here, a lot of value on the board as well. But far be it from me to pat myself on the back from last week, but we did pretty well on this show overall at the Dell Tech.
I don't know about we, but no, if you want to call it a team effort, I'll piggyback, sure, because my guys, they were relaxing. They were having a good old time on the weekend because they didn't advance at all. But your boy, Kevin Kisner, and DJ, who I think we were both kind of on in some capacity, it's such a weird event. And I think we're starting to see, we'll see in years, as the years go on, some guys just love that event. Kisner again in it. Scheffler, he was in it last year. Boom. He is now the world #1. So it seems like there are certain guys, for whatever reason, they just have a thing for match play. And you were able to take advantage of that. It must have felt pretty good to see Kisner battling it out there.
It felt great. And here was the reminder. And look, I am the ultimate team player, right? So you're tagged in there as well. This was a team effort. And you and I can talk through the plays, but the Putting for Dough program brought you this one here, where that one paid off, and it was great to see DJ at a lesser extent. But the Kisner at 1,600 was awesome. DJ at plus 450. And then the final day. And look, at this point, you're just happy to be there, right? Like, that would have been beautiful. But you're right. I mean, Scotty Scheffler is just insane. The DJ ticket was done, so I didn't even watch the third place match, knowing we had college and everything coming there. But it was pretty cool to see the 6,500 ticket, and then Scotty Scheffler is just that good. He deserves the ranking and all. So it was definitely a good way to continue to ramp up for the Masters, knowing that it was kind of a one-and-done scenario where you could take advantage of some different circumstances. That's why it doesn't linger. We'll still ask you to hit the thumbs up button. We still want you subscribed here across the board on the Odd Shopper channel. We have a lot of great content leading up to the Masters, but we're not going to rest on any laurels here after that Dell match, right? At least, the very least.
No, but it's never a bad thing. Golf betting specifically, there's going to be long stretches where you're just not connecting. That's the nature of having tickets that are 20 to 1, 60 to 1, 100 to 1. When you get a couple, even if it's not an outright, it's just more ammo in the bank, more opportunities to fire. I appreciate the shout out on your tweet. I didn't happen to see that tweet on my feed, but I still like to know that it was sent out there. Yeah, shocker.
Interesting.
But, interesting. I think when we look at it, and the one thing I also want to connect from last week's show, we talked about this, and I wasn't Scheffler specific. Now look at his odds for the Masters, and we're going to talk about that later in the show. Whoever won that tournament was going to take a big drop down, so certainly he's going to be a popular name next week. He's not here this week, but there's more big names than I thought here in San Antonio.
So let's look at that, right? And the Valero, definitely not the same star-studded packed event as we'll see a week from then in Augusta, by all means, but you're right. You still have a couple of big names to look at up top. This is a great opportunity. We can get into the depths of the course itself just to kind of give people an idea of kind of how we're approaching this. But this is a manageable course. Yes, there's some wind to deal with, but a lot of times you're either hitting into the wind downhill or hitting with the wind uphill. The big hitters, it's still tough to get to a 600 par 5 in 2. So a lot of the length, a lot of the long guys are kind of negated, and you really need to be accurate, I think, more so off the tee. So yeah, there aren't a ton of gigantic top names in this group, but the course and the field, I think, make for really good value this week, Ben.
It's definitely a different feel, and there is some unknown, I'll be honest. I think that there's a lot of opportunities in the betting market, but there is also the unquantifiable, particularly guys like Rory and those types. If they get off to a somewhat shaky start, are they working on things that are going to suit them for Augusta, or are they working on things to win the Valero Texas Open? I do think that is a situation if a guy starts slow and he's realistically not charging up the board, he's not going to be super interested. But again, I think that opens the door for some big time potential in the outright market and across the card.
I love this point, right? Because I think from a betting standpoint, anybody who has very little to play for or is just going through motions in any capacity that you can bet on in a sport, you probably want to stay away from that person, right? So if I know that this is a tune-up for someone and it just turns into like a happy accident that they make the cut, I don't really want to approach. And again, maybe you look at this from a different standpoint, but there are a couple of guys, and Rory is definitely that one who you could definitely apply that tune-up mentality. Matsuyama has been dealing with a bunch of injury, so this just might be a way to kind of get out there and, you know, see how the back feels and everything. DeChambeau is another one, right? Like, there are guys you can point to ahead of this event and say, yeah, they're probably just stayaways because I don't trust that this is anything more than, all right, I didn't play last week. I did play last week. I still need this tune-up. You know, maybe you're right. Maybe this is a way to kind of target guys who desperately need this, even if it is winning to get that bid into Augusta next week.
So I definitely think there's something to what you're saying. I'll take them individually. Rory, I'm the least concerned about of the guys you mentioned. He didn't have to play here. He chose to play here. Now, I guess it's pretty reasonable that he didn't want to go from the Players to the Masters. There was a pretty big gap. And so, because he didn't play in the match play. So he's here, but he doesn't usually do that. Maybe changing it up. He hasn't had as much success at Augusta as, you know, I think he should. It's a great course for him. And you're going to hear me say that 1,000 times next week. Decky and Bryson, though, to me, are both here mostly to get some reps off injury. Hideki withdrew out of the Players. It's pretty hard to ask him to go defend at the Masters without even teeing it up in between. So I would not touch him or Bryson on my card. So that leads me, if you're going to go to Rory at the top, of course, you can always go there. But if you don't, you've got Spieth, you've got Connors, you've got Answer. Those are the quote unquote favorites here. Are any of them potentially on your card?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked, Mr. Jazz Raz DFS on Twitter, where you can't see my tweets.
That's right.
Let's look at Abraham Answer. I think Jordan Spieth and Answer are kind of in a similar boat here, and I deferred to Answer just because I feel like he would be the less bet, if you will, in this kind of the more public favorite would be a guy in Spieth who has that comfort zone here, but neither one are really living up to expectations from what we expect really from a skill set standpoint. So if this were to pay out as a tune-up, right, we talked about staying away from guys who kind of just looking at this going through motions or a tune-up. I think Answer and Spieth, you can approach it from the opposite and say one of these guys actually could benefit from this tune-up in a place that could benefit their skill set as well. So yeah, of the two, I looked at Answer at plus 2,200 and I took a shot at that.
I like it. A guy's got plenty of experience, Texas roots. I feel pretty good. He's a very accurate player off the tee. The form this year has definitely been underwhelming at times, but it does seem like he's kind of building into it a little bit. And here we've already talked about some of the concerns. Again, I think you can always go to Rory at 7.5, but if you don't, it's somewhat wide open. I'm not going to push back on Spieth. I'll push back on the price. He's 14-1 in the outright market. I think it's a little thin. Of course, he's another, he's a Texas guy. I get it. I just don't really see myself backing him there. You're north of 20 on Answer. I think it's a fine way to start my card. And I think that's the theme of my card. I'm going to have more guys at lower unit allocation than honing in on some of the favorites. I have a lot of guys in the mid-range, a lot of guys on the long shot board. So I'm going to spray and pray, for lack of a better term, rather than hone in on a couple big names.
One more favorite, because he's in that range, that I want to throw at you, because I do think this is a guy who is kind of in the middle between these extremes of what we talked about in a tune-up, and that would be Chris Kirk. Somebody who was playing well. Look, the Players where he misses the cut, a lot of people forget that he was playing exceptionally well, right? Top 20s a couple of times in a row there. He had 3 straight top 15s even. So I think he's a guy who is playing really well. You have the Players, you have the match play. It's kind of easy to forget that, but he's sitting around and hovering at that 2,500 range, and I like him actually better than Answer. So as anybody
Okay.
who's like in that 2,500 or less, just because I don't think that there's you outside of that miscut, it's not like you're pointing to a guy who's been underwhelming or kind of like blah when it comes to expectations like Answer and Spieth. I think with Kirk, you just had that missed cut and then the match play last week, which is an anomaly to whatever anybody's doing. So it's easy to forget the guy for 2 straight weeks. So that's where I think at 2,500, I still think there's value there. So that's what I wanted to bring up for you.
I think it's fine. Off the tee, very positive all year. Plenty of experience at Valero's. Played well here as well. I keep it pretty simple when you're asking me this. I think Answer is just a better player. He's probably not playing better right now. But when I talk about win equity, long-term form, and just how good I kind of think you are is a little more important. You know, DFS circles and things like that, we're going to have you covered from all angles. I think Chris Kirk's going to be a popular choice for good reason. He told me one of these guys is going to win the tournament. They're almost the same odds. Kirk's a little longer. I think that Answer is more likely to win with Kirk. I will only have room for one on my card, and that will be Answer.
All right, so let's keep it moving here, and we'll hit the mid-range long shots. We do have our 40, 20, 10s. By all means, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not subscribed to the Odd Shopper channel, what are you doing? We constantly are pumping out new content each day across the board. Anything you can bet on here that we have covered on site, we're putting out content with. And I love talking about this because now I get to see it firsthand and see the benefits of it. People in this betting Discord that we have talking about how much they're winning and they're learning. So the premium betting Discord is just getting picks from Alex Baker, Steve Buzzard, and yours truly over there, Ben Rasa, who had a nice little UNC Winnipeg moneyline parlay hit last night.
Yeah, I also have Miami, who lost by about 50 points in the second half. But no, it's been great. Really good group in there, a lot of fun. And again, it's a nice mix of, yeah, we're firing off picks, we're creating value there, but we're also all as a community discussing, how do we work through this? Where are the edges? How do we keep track of our bankroll? What's the unit allocation? All things that if you are looking to maybe shore up and grow your betting profile, those are things you need to know. And we can do a lot of that hard work for you to make it much easier when it comes time to place the bets, which is the fun part, of course.
Make sure you follow that link below. You'll see it. It's a great way to enter our Discord and take advantage, as you see, of our premium betting picks on top of that. Speaking of picks, let's move to the mid-range here and identify guys in that 40-1 and higher range. So who's immediately jumping out for you kind of in this middle range, knowing that we still need to sprinkle some on some long and maybe even longest shots? Who's popping out in that mid-range?
So these guys, they pop out not because I think, oh, these are the guys that are going to win the tournament, but there's big time name equity. Tony Finau, a guy that, you know, extremely talented, playing awful. He is 40-1. Ryan Palmer, guy who's always done well in Texas. He is playing awful. 40-1. Jason Day, 50-1. Missed the cut at the Valspar. It looked like he was trending upward with that third at the Farmers. Showed some form, got to Florida. It all went away. Can he rebound in Texas? I'm kind of interested. Again, this is where low unit allocation can help. I might take some stabs here, even though these guys have shown no form. Are you willing to blindly back, you know, guys that we know are talented, but Tony Finau has had an awful season. Yeah. Can he flip the light switch? Jason Day, not nearly as bad of a season, but like he's with Patton Kizzire, Adam Hadwin, Bobby Mack is 40-1. Like, to me, Jason Day is more likely to win the tournament than those guys.
So I'm actually glad you brought up Adam Hadwin, because he's a guy that I had circled at plus 4K because of two metrics that I was trying to use here and reading up on, you know, where you can attack this course. And that's just being accurate off the tee more so than being long off the tee. A lot of times the course, the length on the par fives, we talked about that being north of 600 yards. It just doesn't matter how long you're going to get off of that. You're just not going to get on there. But that also means not only do you need to be good off the tee, meaning like good drives off the tee, accurate hitting fairways, Ben, you also, as you know, need to be really deadly with that third shot. If we're talking about par fives, just that approach shot. So those are the two metrics I was looking at. Adam Hadwin is popping up on both. He's kind of in that little, I have two other guys, longer shots that I'm going to bring up, but Hadwin is kind of in that middle area of that Venn diagram of those two metrics that I wanted to look, and also putting well on Bermuda, right? We want to take advantage of that here in San Antonio. So I think we might be clashing here in this 4K odds because I'm going to stick with Hadwin.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just an evaluation of recent form over long-term pedigree. Adam Hadwin definitely fits. There's no doubt. He's playing well, pair of top tens. Historically, it's tough. It's kind of a mixed bag, but you're right. More often than not, you see like the SNED types, people who play par fives as 3-shot holes all the time. Yeah. You know, Corey Connors has won here. Charlie Hoffman, a ton of success. But you also see like, and I am cherry picking a bit. Trey Mullinax had a big time showing here. Kevin Tway, Tony Finau, Gary Woodland. These are all aggressive drivers of the ball. Definitely two ways to do it, but I will give the nod more to the guys like Hadwin. But I think to me, Jason Day kind of fits that when he's at the height of his powers. Really good short game. Don't get in trouble off the tee. That could be effective if he's in form, which is debatable.
You know, I just wanted to sneak this in here because I really like the approach of Finau, knowing that he's been struggling and that this is an opportunity to turn that around. He's definitely a guy, and we know the volatility, right, who could be 7, 8 under before with a blink of an eye. So is there any interest in attacking him to lead the first round? I'll find that exact number for you here.
So,
Plus 5,000 first round leader.
I think you can always build a first round leader card. I don't genuinely like to do it without tee times just because I don't know where you're going to be playing and there's a chance that you're in the thick of the wind. It's just too early, but if it's agnostic, if there's nothing happening, then yeah, sure. Absolutely. You can do it that way.
All right. So let's hypothetically push this. Let's say they're 8 to 10 mile per hour winds, right?
I prefer him in the morning. Like mostly my first round leader card is skewed to guys who have the best green conditions. Got it.
And that makes a lot of sense. So just wanted to get that out there for people who are like, all right, well then, you know, what if he tees off in the morning? What if he tees off in the mid-afternoon? You definitely want to take advantage of earlier tee times for first round leaders or just anything that you can get live for leaders there. So anybody else in this range that you think we can push? I have Russell Knox at plus 6,500. Where does that fit? Is that going long? Can that straddle the line here?
That's a third category that we don't have. Just insane names that we probably shouldn't bring up, like Ricky.
Well, wait a second. Okay, I did not bring up Ricky Fowler
in my life.
How many times? 0 or 100?
More than you would think. It's particularly not at the Travelers when he won that time.
So there's personal bias here.
Yeah, extreme personal bias against Russell Knox. I root for him too. He plays Valero a lot, hasn't had a bunch of success. I will agree with you that on paper, his game is more suited here. He just has such bad Bermuda splits at times. I worry about it. Let me just ask you, was it the players? Like, was there a reason that you were drawn in at 65 to 1? Because I saw it and I didn't really react either way.
So I think you would have a better reaction on the market value of 65 to 1. I thought that was a decent play here for a guy who, again, I'm deferring to the metrics. I'm deferring to what he does well and how that can fit. And it's a narrative where he could have, if things are working well for Russell Knox, this guy could get out. Like, he could have an easier round. He could be 4 or 5 strokes ahead of a pack. And look, we've also seen, as you mentioned, the frustration that has settled in. So I want a guy who is really sharp off the tee, and I want somebody that I can count on as far as an approach shot. And he, again, popped up as somebody who kind of met both of those metrics. So at 6,500, I thought I was getting better value than Hadwin, and I didn't think it was that huge of a gap of 2,500 points. So that's kind of how my brain worked on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, everything we do here is evaluating chance of success against the line that you're given. Everyone's a bet at a certain number and everyone's a pass or a fade at another. I'm going to go another direction here when we kind of go to this range. I'm going to throw out a guy that doesn't fit at all with what we're talking about skill set wise, but he does that. And his name is Johnny Vegas. Johnny Vegas is a off the tee monster, just an absolute masher. But when you look at his success over the years, and we've got a long sample size, he does better at technical tracks. Double winner at the Canadian Open. He won the Amex. Good finishes at Puerto Rico, the Players, Punta Cana just last week in fourth, the Honda top 5. All of these are more accuracy over distance. He's the type of guy, he can rein it back and really gain off the tee still. He's got Texas roots. I think that Johnny Vegas is he's won on tour. 55-ish, I'm seeing him 12-1 for that top 5. I think that's an opportunity.
Bet. You just made it. I just tailed it. I love it.
Come on,
I love it. Yeah. Oh, I'm in, man. Thank you. Thank you for bringing. And I wasn't looking at him as much, but when you lay out how technical he is and the application of that in recent success to this course at 5,500, 5,000, even if it dips a little bit, I'm okay there. That's a great call with Vegas, man.
There's just certain guys on tour, and I think that Gary Woodland is one as well. Just in general, thinking of names, they're long off the tee, but they are actually in better situations when they are forced to rein it in a little bit. Technical tracks, sometimes you can club down. You're still hitting a better club in a lot of times because of their abilities. Johnny Vegas has shown that he actually likes these type of layouts. He can still attack at times, no doubt about it. But at 55, Troy Merritt, KH Lee, Poulter, Mito, I think that Johnny Vegas is a cut above those guys in terms of outright equity. He was one of my favorite bets of the week.
All right, let's get a little crazy here. Long shots. We're going to go long. By all means, open this up wherever you like. How deep have you gone down here in the field, my friend?
Oh, I went deep. Crazy deep. 3-point Steph Curry Lillard logo range.
Wow. Okay, I can't wait.
All right, we got, again, this is why it's a spray and pray situation, but I think a tournament like this, you could see someone crazy win. Bo Hostler. Bo Hostler's playing a lot better. I've been playing him on the DFS side all year, and it's been fine. He's 140-1 to win the event. Oof. He's been making cuts. He's made 4 or 6. He was 3rd at Pebble Beach. He was 20 at API, 16th at Honda, 48th at Genesis. He went to the University of Texas. He knows what he's doing. He lost that at the Players. He lost 7 strokes on the approach. The Players means nothing. Throw that out completely. I think this is probably a pretty good course for him. He's an elite putter when he gets it going. He's played the Valero 4 times. Really no success, but he's lost strokes putting in 3 of 4. He needs to flip that. I think that this is the type of guy, if he ever does win on tour, it's going to be north of triple digits and a course like this. So there's not that many times I have that opportunity in a field this week. 140-1 is not the worst number.
It's not the worst number by any means. I'm surprised that there are many people at all below on our list right there. You really open things up. When you talk about long shot, I thought you were going to build up to this.
No, I just went right to the egregious zone.
I love that. Here I am. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I should just redo all my plays here because I've got like plus 10,000, plus 15, plus 20,000. That's nothing in comparison to the 150-1 shot.
Well, hit me with him because obviously Bo Hostler by Thursday afternoon, he may be off the ticket due to some very, very bad things he did on the course. But where do you see yourself if there is a chance for a pseudo triple digit winner? Is there a particular guy you're high on?
Yeah, and I'm going to give you 3 names kind of in this bunch here, and you could take them, leave them, do whatever you like with them. But I'm looking again, and I want to focus on this narrow scope of somebody who can get off the tee. And I repeat this because of the length at Valero, because the wind can be mitigated, because the bombers can be mitigated. We've seen this in course history. So I'm not just applying everything, which is, somebody's significant course history or success they're having. I'm looking at a bunch of different things, like specifically getting off the tee and approach shots. So the 3 that I have, Martin Laird at plus 10K. The 15 is Matthew Neesmith, and then Luke Donald at plus 20,000. So these are the guys, again, that I'm trying to target that can hang, that can just play consistent enough that they can hang, that they're, 2 to 3 off the lead on moving day. They're not sitting at home waiting for next week.
I go Bo Hostler 140-1, and you hit me with the I didn't know you're getting so crazy. And then 2 minutes later, you hit me with Luke Donald 200-1.
Oh yeah, sorry, I mistook that. He is 200-1.
Yeah, 200-1. Nice job. That's more egregious than anyone. At the height of his powers, Luke Donald didn't miss a putt inside 10 feet for like 10 straight years. But I'm not sure if he can survive off the tee. He's lost strokes off the tee in all of his events in 2022. He has to keep that around 0. Keeping around 0, he'll have a chance to maybe make a cut and whatnot and get in the mix like he did at Valspar. If not, it'll be a short day. Martin Laird, I think, is a very reasonable target to me, hovering at 100 to 1, give or take. Iron player, can get going. It's his putter. Can his putter hold them together? Well, when you win tournaments, you get lucky with your putter, most likely. We've seen it time and time again. He's in the range of Thigala, Kanaya, CT Pan, Rasmus. I would have Martin Laird above those guys. So I totally see how you got there.
Look, I think the issue with Donald is I'm looking at him. The one metric that he does pop up is strokes gained on approach. So again, if there's a way to mitigate some damage. Now, look, if this guy can't make a putt, this bet's cooked. I just throw it away
amongst other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Luke Donald's complicated with strokes gained approach in general because he gets himself into such outrageous positions off the tee. He has the opportunity to gain, like, if you hit it into like the woods and then you land it on the green, you gain a lot of strokes on the approach, but it's because he screwed it up so badly off the tee. Yeah. So there's something to that, I think, but at the same time, you know, you would need, I think, adverse conditions, but when you're at 200 to 1, you can allocate such a small amount of a unit on it for potentially huge payday. You can always justify that pending you at least see a path to something like I did with Hostler.
All right, 40, 20, 10. We pick a guy, each pick a guy that's plus money 40, plus money top 20, plus money top 10. So that's the only catch here. They have to be plus money across the board. I'm a little torn with the two guys that I have. I love Russell Knox. I know you do not, which is understandable here. The other guy is just a recent streak of success. Pardon me if I can get that out, because I'm saying Streelman. So I got Streelman and streak combined. But Kevin Streelman's another one where we've seen top 10, we've seen top 20, top 22s, top 25. Like, he's been there in that range, and you can get him plus money as well. So I'm kind of tied between the two. If I'm going to choose one, I might choose Knox just because I know it will upset you more.
I mean, Knox is good at coming in 37th. He's done that a lot for me when I've needed outrights. Yeah, Kisner. Now you got me confused with the Kevin. Streelman
yes, I love
playing good golf. There's no doubt. Off the tee automatic without being long. It's funny, when we started the show, you had this segment in there, and I was like, I don't know about this. This is my favorite segment. This is the one bet we've been cashing a lot. I've been going to Munoz like every week, and he finds his way in every time. I'm going to the other guy I go to all the time, and that's Denny McCarthy. Denny McCarthy is consistently plus money on a top 40s, right around he's plus 110 here. The guy's made 15 of 17 cuts, 15 of 16. I'm counting them right now. He's certainly made 9 of the last 10. He's only missed 1 cut this year. When you make the cut, there's not that many places between 40th and how many guys get through. The guy's automatic strokes gained putting, 9 of his last 10 positive. The approach is weak. There's no doubt about it, but I love him on Bermuda. He knows what's going on. He's good in the wind, if that's what we see here. He is someone I rarely go to the outright, but I love putting him on the card for these wheels. He's been inside the top 40 in 2 of his 3 starts here. I really like this spot for him once again, 40, 20, and top 10.
Plus money across the board. And again, both of these hit, you're making great money, and you're throwing back everything else that you've thrown out if you don't hit a winner or two. All right, so let's hit this. The final card, speaking of winners, just the 2 that you like the best. We'll go back and forth. I'll be short and sweet with mine. You already know Russell Knox is up there, again, to win this thing at plus 6,500. But I think the best bet from my side so far that I'll stick with as my number 1 would be Chris Kirk.
I like it. I think if you're going to the top, Answer makes a lot of sense. And Johnny Vegas, 55 to 1. He is a good addition to an outright card. A lot of risk, but a lot of reward as well.
We talked about the Masters last week ahead of the Dell Tech, and just giving people a small little sample. And we're going to do that again on our way out of here by all means. But has anything really changed for you outside of value on the board and all? Has anything really changed from last week? And if so, what is the approach that kind of differs?
So the one thing I'll say, I want to potentially have Hideki on my card. I'm really
Ooh.
glad to see him at Valero, because now I think it's a given that we're going to find out. I'm going to bet Hideki before this tournament starts for the Masters now, and hope that he just looks completely normal at Valero. Give me the 25-1. If we didn't see him at all and I was flying blind, probably would have been left off my card, but I feel much better now knowing he's got a plan. We're going to get some reps and then we head to defend the title.
There's really nobody else you could make that argument with this week, right? That you think they have
Bryson,
a chance,
but we saw him last week a little,
and it wasn't inspiring.
No, it wasn't at all.
All right. So on that note, there you have it. Matsuyama, you could tail Ben Rasa, get in ahead of time, and just hope that he looks upright and put together, and then you're going to be in great shape. So each and every week, we appreciate you hanging with us on Putting for Dough. We don't ask much, right? Just hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed here to the Odd Shopper channel. And thanks to Ben Rasa, to Chris for producing, at JazzRazDFS, at Shander Show for me, and we'll see you next week.